People often say that love comes like fireworks, loud, dazzling, and impossible to miss. They imagine it bursting into the sky, filling hearts with excitement and wonder. But for me, love didn't arrive with that kind of noise. It came quietly, gently, like a whisper in the dark. It found me on a rainy night in New York, a city where dreams rush past in flashing lights and hurried footsteps. The rain fell softly, coating the streets in silver reflections. My heels suddenly broke and I stumbled, surrounded by cold lights and passing strangers. For a moment the world blurred. Everything slowed down, as if time itself was holding its breath. And in that fragile pause love appeared. Not in flames or thunder, but in warmth and stillness. Perhaps it was in a kind glance, a hand reaching out, or simply in the feeling that I was no longer alone. That night, love didn't announce itself with grand gestures. It slipped into my heart quietly, like rain soaking into the earth. This moment reminds me that real love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's born in silence, in moments when the world feels broken. Yet something beautiful still finds you. Fireworks fade, but quiet love lingers. It glows softly, endlessly, like a light that never burns out. My love story didn't start with sparks in the sky. It began in the rain, beneath the hum of a city, where silence spoke louder than anything else. I am Emily Carter, walking too quickly through the city streets, trying to outpace the emptiness that followed me like a shadow. The night was cool, the air heavy with the scent of rain, and the glow of distant lights blurred against my tears I refused to shed. Then suddenly I heard it, the sharp crack of my heel breaking. That tiny sound echoed louder than my heartbeat, pulling me out of my thoughts and into the harshness of reality. I stumbled forward, my pulse quickening, arms reaching out to keep myself from falling. In that split second I felt the world tilt, the cold pavement waiting, the noise of passing cars fading, and the lonely rhythm of my heart pounding in my ears. It wasn't just my heel that broke. It felt like something inside me cracked too. A fragile piece of pride, of composure. Yet in that fragile moment of imbalance, something unexpected stirred. Life, in all its cruel beauty, has a way of finding us when we least expect it. Maybe love begins like this. In the chaos of a stumble, in the fragile heartbeat between falling and being caught. That night the city didn't care who I was. But somewhere in that blur of fear and silence, I realized that even in loneliness, life has poetry. Every misstep, every fall, carries the chance that someone or something will be there to help you rise again. Before I could hit the ground, two strong arms reached out and caught me. Steady, protective, and sure. For a moment the world stopped spinning. The city lights, the rain, the sound of hurried footsteps all disappeared into silence. All I could feel was the warmth of his hold and the calm that surrounded him, like a quiet promise that I was safe. I looked up, breathless, and met his eyes, the eyes of Daniel Hayes. There was something extraordinary about them. They carried both the softness of kindness and the quiet strength of someone who had known pain yet learned to love anyway. In that single gaze everything changed. It was as if time folded in on itself, and two lives that had wandered separately finally crossed in the way they were always meant to. My heart, still racing from fear, began to beat with a different rhythm, not of panic but of recognition. His eyes didn't just see me, they understood me. The loneliness I had been trying to hide seemed to melt away, replaced by something warm and alive. That moment, fleeting yet eternal, felt like destiny disguised as an accident. Love didn't arrive with words or promises. It came through a glance, a heartbeat, a rescue that was more than physical. In Daniel's arms I found not just balance but belonging. And under the rain-soaked lights of New York, my story quietly began. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice deep, steady, and filled with a quiet kindness that wrapped around me like warmth in the cold night air. Those simple words carried a tenderness I hadn't felt in a long time. They weren't just a question. They were a gentle reminder that someone cared, even in a city that often forgets your name. His tone melted the noise of the world around us. The honking cars, the rush of footsteps, and the endless hum of New York faded into silence. For a single breathtaking moment, it felt as if the universe had paused, as if time itself had chosen to draw only the two of us in that narrow street, standing beneath the glow of trembling city lights. Our eyes met and something unspoken passed between us, something deeper than words. It wasn't love at first sight, but something softer, slower, like a seed quietly being planted in the heart. The rain shimmered around us, each drop reflecting fragments of a world that no longer seemed quite so lonely. In that instant, everything ordinary became extraordinary. A simple question turned into a connection. A stranger became a story. It felt as though fate had been waiting for this exact moment, arranging every detail, the rain, the stumble, the broken heel, just to bring us face to face. And as I stood there, I knew that something in my life had just changed forever. He guided me gently to a quiet bench nearby, his hand steady against mine, offering not just balance for my steps, but comfort for my heart. The rain had softened to a mist, wrapping the city in a silver haze. We sat together beneath the dim glow of a streetlight, laughing about my broken heel, as if it were a small joke written by fate. What began as an awkward stumble slowly turned into something warm and natural, like a melody that needed no words to be understood. We spoke about little things, the weather, the noise of the city, the smell of wet pavement, yet every word felt effortless, as if we had shared 1,000 conversations before. There was no rush, no need to impress. It was simply two souls meeting at the perfect moment, their connection unfolding quietly in the heart of a restless city. His laughter carried a softness that eased the ache of my loneliness, and in his eyes, I saw a reflection of peace I hadn't known I was searching for. Time seemed to lose meaning as we talked. The city moved around us, cars passing, lights flickering. Yet we were lost in our own little world. Two strangers drawn together by accident, now felt like old friends rediscovering something sacred. That night, on a rain-washed bench in New York, I realized that sometimes love doesn't announce itself. It simply sits beside you and makes you feel at home. Days began to melt into weeks, and what started as a single meeting in the rain slowly grew into something beautiful and alive. Daniel began to open his world to me, showing me his blueprints, his dreams of building homes where families could laugh, live, and belong. There was a light in his eyes whenever he spoke of his work, a kind of passion that made the ordinary feel extraordinary. In return, I shared pieces of my own world. My sketches of dresses, my visions of runways, the art that lived quietly in my heart. Our dreams were different, yet somehow they fit together perfectly, like two halves of the same story. Our days filled with small moments that meant everything. Coffee dates that stretched into hours. Long walks through the city where conversation flowed as easily as breathing. Every step beside him felt like a promise. Every laugh like a note in a song only we could hear. And somewhere between those shared dreams and soft silences, something deeper took root. His hand, once a stranger's, became the safest place mine could ever rest. It wasn't just about touch. It was about trust, the unspoken kind that only grows when hearts truly understand each other. With him, even the simplest things, a walk, a glance, a smile, felt like pieces of forever. Love didn't arrive all at once. It unfolded gently, one heartbeat at a time, until he became my home. The city felt completely new when I walked beside him. The same streets that once seemed cold and crowded now shimmered with quiet magic. Every corner, every light, every passing sound felt softer, brighter, as if New York itself had learned to breathe differently. His laughter became the music that filled the spaces inside me where pain once lived. It wasn't loud or demanding. It was gentle, real. The kind of laughter that could reach the deepest parts of the heart and remind it how to feel again. There was something healing in his presence, something that went beyond words. The silence that had lived within me for so long, that heavy quietness of loneliness, began to fade. With him, I didn't have to hide the broken pieces of myself. He saw them and somehow he made them beautiful. Days passed like soft pages in a love story we didn't even know we were writing. Stolen glances became longer, filled with meaning neither of us dared to speak aloud. Late-night calls stretched until dawn, voices whispering dreams and secrets that only love could hold. Somewhere between those simple moments, laughter shared, words unspoken, hearts slowly opening. Friendship quietly transformed into love. It wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was tender and inevitable, like sunrise after a long night. With him, love didn't feel like a rush. It felt like coming home, as if my heart had finally found where it belonged. But love, no matter how pure or beautiful, is never without its trials. Just when everything between us felt perfect, when laughter had replaced loneliness and dreams had begun to intertwine, life tested the strength of what we had built. Daniel received an offer to work abroad, a project so grand it could define his entire career. It was everything he had ever wanted, everything he had worked for. I should have been happy for him, and I was, but beneath that joy, a quiet ache began to grow. The thought of distance settled between us like a shadow, long and unshakable. The same streets that once felt alive now seemed to echo with uncertainty. Late-night talks began to carry the weight of unspoken fear, the fear of time, of space, of losing something that had only just begun to bloom. I watched him speak about his dreams with shining eyes, and though my heart swelled with pride, a part of it trembled at the thought of watching him go. Love had always been our light, but now it was being tested by distance, an invisible wall that threatened to dim its glow. Yet even in fear there was hope, because real love doesn't fade with miles. It fights, it endures, it learns to wait. Still, in that moment, as the future hung uncertain, I couldn't help but wonder if love alone would be strong enough to keep us together. One evening, when the rain returned just as it had the night we met, I heard a familiar knock on my door. I opened it to find Daniel standing there, drenched from head to toe, shivering but smiling through the cold. The sight of him stole my breath. It felt as if time had looped back to the moment where everything began. The rain once again becoming the silent witness to our story. His eyes, glistening beneath the dim porch light, held that same warmth I had fallen in love with. Only now there was something deeper in them, something certain. He looked at me, his voice trembling but full of truth, and said softly, "No dream means anything without you. Love is not about falling. It's about holding on forever." Those words wrapped around my heart like the rain around the city, gentle, endless, and real. In that instant, all the fear, the distance, the sleepless nights vanished. What mattered wasn't the world he left behind or the opportunities he turned away from. It was this moment, this choice, this promise. As the rain poured down, he took my hand, and I knew that love wasn't meant to be perfect or easy. It was meant to be constant, something that holds on even when everything else tries to pull it apart. That night, beneath the rhythm of the rain, I realized that love, when true, always finds its way back home. Years later, I walked down the aisle barefoot with my heart steady and full. I no longer needed heels to make me feel strong. Love had already taught me how to stand tall. The path beneath my feet was soft, the air filled with music and quiet joy. At the end of that aisle stood Daniel, the same man who had once caught me when I was falling, the same arms that had become my shelter in every storm. His smile was warm, familiar, and full of the promise that love, when true, only grows deeper with time. As I reached him, memories flooded back. The rain, the cold street, the sound of my heel breaking the first time our eyes met. It all came rushing in, not as pain but as poetry. When I said, "I do," it wasn't just to the man standing before me. It was to the journey that brought us here. I was saying yes to every stumble, every tear, every quiet night that shaped our love. I was marrying the night of my fall, the rain that kissed the city, and the moment when a stranger became my forever. In his eyes, I saw the reflection of every piece of me he had healed. That day, I didn't just become a bride. I became whole again. For love, real love, doesn't just lift you. It rebuilds you, until you can finally stand tall on your own, barefoot, but unshakable.